the president believes that on principle, it's important to release that report so that people around the world and people here at home understand exactly what transpired. There are obviously going to be some limits about what can be said given the classified nature of the program, but because of the scrupulous work of the committee and the administration and the intelligence community in particular, we've declassified as much of that report as we can.
$40 million of your dollars on a partisan Senate report covering the use of torture by the U.S. government in ferreting out terrorist killers, unnecessary cleansing, or handing the enemy new reasons to attack. He's the retired U.S. Army colonel with more than 30 years field and operational intelligence experience. Now at the London Center for Policy Research, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer is on MidPoint. Tony, good to see you again.
Ed, thanks for having me. Good to be on.
Is it fair to say that Dianne Feinstein and others, in your opinion, are doing nothing more than blowing partisan smoke and mirrors at the American public and will cost lives?
Yes, and let me be clear, just for your audience to understand, I'm considered persona non grata to she and her staff because I had to testify to them back in 2005 on something called Able Danger. And this is why I know this is partisan. We gave them in that session, Ed, in 2005, clear and compelling evidence about how we had found 9/11 hijackers before 9/11, to include Muhammad Atta. And because that didn't fit with the narrative they wanted to go with, they trashed the project, trashed the report. A report came out from them 2 years later saying that Able Danger didn't do anything. So I know firsthand that whatever she does is completely partisan. In this case, it is clearly both a poke in the eye to those line officers at CIA serving and doing the hard things. And secondly, this is meant to be essentially if you will, a attempt to diminish the United States morally to our enemies. This is completely inappropriate, both from the practical aspect of really creating a chilling effect on those people like myself, like other CIA officers who have to go out and do the hard work, and then giving our enemies clear and compelling advantage to justify their actions. To me, this is not only un-American, this is actually going to cause grave damage to our ability to conduct foreign policy and military intelligence operations overseas for the next 10 years.
Are we looking at, in many ways, what could be treason?
In my judgment, this is a treasonous act. She is not putting out the full picture. It is not a balanced report. And again, Ed, let me be very clear for your audience. You know, I'm not a without opinion spectator. I've been involved with her committee, but that experience has taught me to not trust anything that they do, because they will not give you a fair hearing. And I agree with former Vice President Cheney on this. I know for a fact, since I've had to brief black operations to that level, that these people, to include Senator Feinstein, were given full and compelling information about those activities, no matter how unsightly, no matter how bad they were told up front. So now this reminds me of that scene in Casablanca where Lieutenant Renault is given his gambling winnings when he says, "I'm shocked to find gambling going on here." She's part of the problem, Ed, and this is her way of poking the American people in the eye on the way out of office.
I want to use those two words that you mentioned twice here, clear and compelling. First of all, let's get down to clear and compelling evidence. In your opinion, and the opinion of many others, there is clear and compelling evidence that this report is basically spitting in the eye of. Tony, the American people will then ask, how can you do that? If your evidence is provable and it's true and they know it, then what are they doing here lying to us?
Well, there's two aspects of this. First, some of the things they're portraying as torture, I would do. Let me be very clear for your audience. This is going to really upset some of my friends on the left. I don't believe threatening someone with death, making them think they're going to die, is torture. That's part of interrogation. I have done similar things. With that said, we don't behead people, we don't follow through. So this is where we have the Jedi Knight aspect of this. While we understand the dark arts, Ed, we don't cross the line. And I don't believe report shows that anybody purposely went out of their way with authority to cause bodily harm permanently. Secondly, beyond that, when the things that were done, they were done with authority. Dianne Feinstein and those others who were in the oversight loop approved them. So as much as it may pain them now to think that they were somehow part of this, they were somehow part of this. They were as responsible as the man in the field conducting whatever act they now find reprehensible, they approved. So this is not only insane, this is why they're doing this. This is basically their way of trying to get the stink off of them, because they're as guilty as anyone else if there's guilt to be had.
30 seconds, we'll break, come back and do more. But in those 30 seconds, in your opinion, what will our enemies glean from this release?
Well, there's a lot of techniques which come close to those still being used. I can't get into that. Some of those techniques have to do with psyching someone out. Ed, if you're my enemy, I'm going to do whatever I can to get in your head to make you think I'm going to do harm to you. I will not do harm to you, but I want you to believe you will. Therefore, I think it's important for our interrogators, especially now, to be able to break people without touching them. You have to do that with psychology. I think we're giving far too much away regarding the psychology of interrogation by this report.
Hold that thought. Breaking back with Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, we will get to the bottom of the torture issue as used to gain real intelligence. And at 51 minutes after the hour, in telling it like it is, why the release of this terror report could indeed border on treason. It's next on MidPoint.